How's it going, everyone? Good. Just want to start off giving a few thank yous. All the coaches, Tim and Kevin especially, through some miracle years that I'm here, and I'm thankful for it every day. Thank all the swimmers. My mom's here. She came all the way up from Maryland, so thank you, Mom. So my transition from club swimming to college was probably a lot different than a lot of yours. I came from a team that was not one of the top teams anywhere, and I really had never swam with someone who was faster than me. I was always the fast kid in my age group, always the fast kid in the meets and on my team. And it was a weird transition. I'll never forget my first captain's practice here. Some kid, some sprint freestyler from Portland, Oregon, named Andrew Hayman, was going 54s in 100 IM. 10 100 IMs in a row, 54 for all of them. I was taken aback. I'd never seen anything like that. I didn't even know it was possible. The entire freshman year, things would continue to surprise me. I would have to go my best shaved and tapered time in high school every single dual meet to win the 100 back show. And sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. And Tim back then, for those of you guys who didn't know, was a little different of a coach. He was a badass and a hard ass. We were yelled at almost every practice, and it was pretty discouraging. But at the end of the year, I did pretty well, so I guess it was all worth it. The next year I came back and things were only harder. And I'm going to admit to you guys now, for a second sophomore year, I really considered quitting swimming. And I know none of us talk about this, and I'm really happy we don't. But I think at some point in our lives, all of us have really contemplated quitting the sport. It's a very difficult sport, takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment. Especially here at Yale, where you're encouraged to explore everything, try a million different things. It's very difficult to come in knowing exactly what you're going to do and committing to it for 4 years. I had trouble especially with that. So I had to look at myself in the mirror at that time and really ask myself, why am I doing this? What's the point? Well, for you freshmen, I'm going to tell you today, as a senior, through my experience, why I think this is worth it and why I think it's one of the most important experiences you'll have in your life to shape you as a person. Fact, college swimming is the hardest thing I'll ever do in my life. Unless I go to war, I cannot imagine, if I was in the Oval Office present, I could not imagine it even take close to as much of a physical and mental toll as swimming has for me. I think swimming really affected me a lot harder than for a lot of other people, but everyone here has put in so much dedication and commitment to our sport. I mean, just think of a typical Wednesday morning. If you described what we do on Wednesday morning to an average person, first of all, they wouldn't even understand it. Second of all, they would be so surprised, right? We wake up at the break of dawn, walk through the frozen tundra of New Haven, willingly jump in a freezing cold pool, and then drown ourselves for an hour doing underwaters. If you told a regular person that's what you're doing on Wednesday morning, they wouldn't even believe it. Yet every single week, we're all there. We're all doing it. Think about the last practice and training trip, when we know exactly what it's going to be, that 4 a.m., that 2 fly, and we all push through it and do really well. I think that's really important. I think our dedication and commitment is something that's not seen in really any other sports. I always say swimming's the hardest sport, other than maybe wrestling, but that's an argument for a different time. I think truly we do the hardest sport, and it's incredible that we commit to it as much as we do. So Konrad Lorenz, a psychologist, in his book, Civilized Man's 8 Deadly Sins, talks about one of the ills plaguing humanity as what he calls entropy of feeling. Now, what he means by this is in our modern age, we're so often stimulated, so often excited by things. Everything around us is meant to entertain us. That dopamine levels in the head or happiness levels in the head, the brain gets used to them, and after a while, happiness becomes normality. That's why you see people with attention deficit disorder nowadays. He also says that in order to achieve true jubilation, you have to suffer. Now, I don't know if I agree with everything he's talking about, but I think he makes a good point. We're at a school where everyone stresses every little thing. You know, typical Yale conversation. Hey, how you doing? oh, so stressed. And the paper due Wednesday, and the midterm Friday. And if you don't respond in the same manner, it's almost weird, right? If you say like, oh, I'm feeling great, like, do you even take classes here? That's the norm in our school. But for someone like me, you know, I still have the paper due the next day just like everyone else. But hey, I have to wake up tomorrow morning at the break of dawn and drown myself. So I think I'm a little bit more concerned about that. It really puts things in perspective. So everything else seems great. One of the greatest things you could have is 3:30 practice being changed to 4. Wow, celebration, you know? That little thing makes all the difference. And that's it. It puts everything in perspective. I think also I've had some of the, in terms of the jubilation after suffering, I've had some of the best times of my life because we put in so much work. It's also built some of the strongest relationships I've ever had in my life. We've all created a bond through the hardship we've gone together. You know, like brothers in arms coming back from a war. We'll never forget what we did here, and we'll always have stories to tell about it. I always like to look at the week when we come back from training trip. That's when we're all so close to each other because we've spent a week together. We've all suffered so much, and the team is really united. And the other thing is kids around us, kids from our high school, even Yale kids who are great friends, will never, ever understand what we've gone through, what we've had to sacrifice to be here and to do what we do. So we're going to always have a bond with each other through those memories. In terms of 2015, I mean, I don't even have to say it. These are some of my closest friends in the world. If I didn't see these kids for 50 years, we would reunite just like nothing happened. That's the kind of relationship I have with them. And I don't think I've ever been closer with a group of people. And part of that friendship was formed through hardness, through Tim yelling at us, through the hard practices. And you know, we'll have so many stories over the years. And I think stories, the last thing I want to say is stories are worth so much in your life. The rest of your life you're going to remember them and be happy. I think being on this team is some of the greatest stories I'll ever have. I mean, freshman year, our class, I think, has such a great story coming in with nothing and winning all those meets. It was so exciting. And you know, you can look at our record, but every single meet we've won in these 4 years, we pretty much dominate, right? If you look at the invitationals we went to, we were a pretty good team. There was a lot of fun meets. But, you know, there's also hardship. A friend asked me last week, what do you think is the worst sports or the most heartbreaking sports loss in history? I said, when we lost to Columbia. No doubt. That was the saddest I've ever been. And you know, that really brought our class together, failing. So, in conclusion, I just want to point out the 3 points I made. First of all, we have a commitment like nothing else, like you'll find nowhere else. You'll form friendships here that cannot be formed regularly because you go through suffering. And you'll create memories here that will last your entire lifetime. My 3 parting words of advice to everyone. Number 1, always meet new people at the school. There's so many incredible people, and if you don't go out and meet them, it's such a shame, because so many people have things to offer. Number 2, be close enough to some group that you can actually share your true feelings, what you think about. Number 3, you don't have to love every part of swimming, but never forget a second of what happened. Thank you.